And you'll be introduced as the NGC of Tampa. Hey, come on now. Hey.
This one down.
Hey. Hey. NGC!
Send the message to Dr. Yumkella to let him know that he has captured our hearts with his message. And we also know that he has the character which is such a scarce commodity in our Sierra Leone politics. We know he's going to do what he said he will do, and he will not let us down. And each one of us who are here tonight, we want you to know that we are part of your moral guarantor. And we are going to work as hard as we can to make sure Sierra Leone becomes what it should be. So, without much ado, I want to hand over the mic to Dr. Olusegun Fofana.
I'm happy to be here. I mean, Sierra Leone is like a crucible right now. Something very good is happening in Sierra Leone. And NGC, the National Grand Coalition, is creating waves in Sierra Leone. We, as Sierra Leoneans, should feel very, very fortunate and happy as to what is happening. NGC is a party of change. We have sat back and reflected on the situation of our country and comparing Sierra Leone to Guinea, Liberia, Ghana, Nigeria. You bleed, your heart will bleed if you really take sectoral comparison, the medical sector, the educational sector, agriculture, and sectoral comparison to some of these countries, the infrastructure. Visit a country like Ghana. I mean, there's no comparison between Sierra Leone and Ghana. It's like you are in any of the states here in the United States. The economy is booming. The people are looking very happy. They are well. The educational system is good. I mean, don't talk about the medical.
Yeah.
No more residencies.
Yeah, they have
You have to imagine.
the
You have to imagine what happens in the rainy season when those kids are scrambling for transport to go up their lessons. They get late. They compromise. The young ladies are compromised by the professors. I mean, everything bad you can imagine is happening in Sierra Leone. You go to the hospitals, they have to bribe the nurse, they have to bribe the doctors to get treatment. Yet still, they are going around talking about free medical health care. You go into the schools, you have to bribe the headmaster or the principal to get a space for your child. Yet they say education is improving. The story of Sierra Leone is too long to narrate. But distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have an opportunity now. We We have a challenge and an opportunity. Challenge to come together, opportunity to remove the APC from power, to really bid them farewell, because really they have degenerated our country. Today, Sierra Leone, we can only pride ourselves as number what? 100 and something at the bottom of the Human Development Index. For the past 10 years, we have always been either third to bottom, fifth to bottom was the highest, or the last, or the least most developed country in the whole world. Yes, it's the worst place to live as a youth in the whole world. Youths are going about without jobs. Graduates are leaving university without jobs. Our young ladies, young children, what you call it, are going around the offices, prostituting all over. That's their job, day and night. Something is happening in Sierra Leone. We need to wake up. I'm here to represent the NGC and Dr. Yumkella, and I bring you greetings from the entire party structure in Freetown. They are not aware about my activity here this evening. I thought it was going to be sometime earlier this evening so that I could have connected with Dr. Yumkella to address you over the telephone. But it's too late now to do that. But we are counting on you guys, and you are performing a very productive role. Most people are calling back home, telling their families and parents to support NGC, and it's working. Some people are even threatening them. They are relatives. You either support NGC, or if APC comes to power, we will not send you any more money. It's working miracles. It's really working. We implore you to continue in that campaign to change the minds of our people back home. They do listen to you, you know. And in Philadelphia, a lot of people were bragging, I have converted the whole village. Some people have even converted their constituencies. It's working. The momentum for change is really there now. People are ready for change. But like any election, we need support. There's no cheap election. The APC is having the national kitty to bribe and and induce and you name it, the voters. But the people's power is on in Sierra Leone. Regardless of whatever amount they attempt to dish out, we are telling the populace, take the money. That's the money they should have spent to build your school, the money they should have spent to build your market, to build your hospital, or give you toilet in your schools. And people are buying that. So something very interesting is happening. We are hoping that you will continue your support. We are counting on you, and we hope most of you will join us in the campaign, towards the latter part of the campaign, and also to join the NGC government so that we can rehabilitate our country. Because we are sure if we are given a level playing field, we will win the election. Definitely. So on behalf of the leadership, on behalf of Dr. Yumkella, I want to say thank you to all. Mr. Cole is a gentleman that I've known for quite some time. I know him to be a very progressive and a very forthright person. I was surprised when I heard that he has left the source of Sierra Leone and is now in the United States. They are the people who will be looking up to for the spiritual guarantee of that country. But I'm sure he's still playing a part. Mr. Cole, we are looking forward to welcoming somebody like you back home in Sierra Leone. We need you. We need your kind. We need talent. We need to change the system. Sierra Leone is not a matter of changing personnel. You know? It's like you have a whole drum of palm oil. If you dip the white shell in there, it won't come out white anymore. Yeah. That's what you have in Sierra Leone. The system is there. We have to uproot that system. Otherwise, if we just say we're going to change manpower, personnel, it will not help. Because it's rotting at the bottom. The only thing we can do to rehabilitate that country, to revamp that country, is to really uproot the entire system.
Are we the same boy? Yeah. Tell you neighbor, tell them say you there. Tell them say you there. Tell you neighbor, tell them say you there. Tell them say you there. Yeah. We dey send them go down. 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 Tell them say you there. Tell them say you there. Tell you neighbor, tell them say you there. Tell them say you there. We dey send them go down. Small, send them go down.
Given the introduction you gave is exactly why I chose that topic. Afro-pessimism over 3 decades, from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and up to the mid-2000s. Africa has been portrayed as that hopeless continent. The Economist, I showed you that slide yesterday. The Economist said, hopeless continent. They had headlines, front page with HIV/AIDS, and it was all conflict and disaster, what I call the 3 Ds, disease, death, and disaster. Or the other way around, disease, disasters, and death of Africa. And I don't want our children and grandchildren to believe we're that hopeless. When others are investing in our continent and they see riches, we, the older generation, we've gone through the periods of the Liberation Council, the Redemption Council, and nothing happened. I want our children not to believe that. I want our children to believe in an Africa that I believe in, which is the Africa where, in fact, we have seen foreign direct investment go from 15 billion back in around 2000, 2003 to about 87 billion by 2007. People have been investing in Africa to get a piece of our real estate. Why? Because this continent sits on most of the minerals that the rest of the world needs to grow. We see problems, others see opportunity, and they come in to grab. And yet we sit as if we're hopeless. Second, I want our children to liberate their minds, from this receivership mentality, aid-dependent mentality, that somebody else has to come to Africa to solve our problems. That's not what I see in Asia. I've spent over 20 years now in the development field. The last 20 years going to Asia. When I go to Asia, I don't see a depressed Asia. I don't see Asians waiting for somebody to come, give them aid to solve their problem. No way. I see Asians thinking competitiveness, technology transfer, trade, and they're ready to be creative to compete. We are not the only ones who had conflict. Cambodia had conflict. Vietnam had conflict. In fact, in the 60s and mid-70s, they were referring to Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, and others as basket cases. They recovered, they transformed, and today, yes, they're self-sufficient in food production. They're major industrial hubs for producing goods and services which are bought by rich OECD countries. What am I saying? None of us are destined to be poor. No nation is destined to have disease, disasters, and death only. It depends on the creativity and the determination of their people. And for us, the difference between us and many Asian countries is that God gave us everything. And you heard me talk about the Garden of Eden syndrome. Exactly. And that is not from me. That's from Ali Mazrui back in '81. Because somehow, because God gave us everything, every season something grows. And the minerals are everywhere. My country, they just discovered one of the largest species of diamond ever in the world. 706 carats. They just discovered it last week. God gave us everything. So somehow it seems our creativity died. Somehow it seems we are not as aggressive and ambitious as we're supposed to be. I want our children, since we may have failed them with all these isms you mentioned, yeah? I want our children to believe that they can be a Bill Gates. I want them to believe that with all this God-given wealth, oil and gas, bauxite, iron ore, titanium, you name it, that in fact they can capture this 21st century. They're good as anybody. If I can leave poor Sierra Leone, that has been ranked at the bottom of the heap for almost 3 decades, we're amongst the 5 poorest. Back in 2008, we were the poorest of the poor, the lowest human development index. If I can defy that and go to such a level globally, it means any kid can do it.